The New York Times ran a big story a couple days ago about how the Occupy movement, from their vantage point, is mostly a white middle-class movement thus far, with some exceptions. But it seems to be the majority of the case here as well. I mean, a little bit of a Setool presence. There's not a lot of a North Minneapolis African-American activist presence here. Do you think that's true, or do you think that's wrong? And I mean, if so, why?
Well, there's certainly a diverse crowd of people here. I wouldn't deny that it's largely white. I think that it's going to take time to build those relationships and to build trust in those communities. And I think one thing that we can do to make that happen is go into those communities and show that we're committed to fighting for families who are losing their homes and that we're going to stand with those people.
So is the push to perhaps occupy foreclosed homes in North Minneapolis, I mean, is that directly related to perhaps expanding the Occupy MN movement?
Well, I think it is. I think, the more we can get more communities and neighborhoods involved, it's just going to keep growing. And as we continue to have wins with cases like Ruth's, more and more people will hear about us and get excited about us, and we can continue to grow and keep on fighting for what we're fighting for out here. We had our first big victory helping Ruth Merman, a small business owner whose home was being foreclosed on. We helped her bring U.S. Bank to the negotiating table and actually get her 2 more weeks for her and her father to stay in their home, and I believe a $2,500 money sort of settlement to help her move out. It's one family that we've been talking to lives in North, which is for us emblematic of the entire foreclosure crisis in Minnesota. They've been hit so hard by the economic crisis here and the tornado that happened just this year. So that's a potential next move here.
I mean, one of the quotes that I saw in the Times story, activists in the South Bronx, which is a historically poor black neighborhood, was that, look, middle-class whites are learning what we and what Latinos have known for decades. I've heard some of the same sentiments from activists I know in North Minneapolis. I mean, what has to happen for kind of middle-class whites, if they are the instigators of the Occupy movement, for them to really understand what blacks and Latinos are going through and thus coalesce?
Well, I think one thing we're seeing now is with the economic crisis, everyone's affected, and more people are losing their jobs and ending up in situations that have been epidemic and in Latino and Black communities and other communities of color. I think as we learn to stand together and fight and win together, we're going to build relationships in those communities. And at the same time, there needs to be a lot of education done to build understanding and to recognize how these systems are intertwined with racism and the economic crisis here.
Well, we hope that this movement continues to grow, and we're going to try to help it continue to grow. It's very important that Americans finally see there's an opportunity to stand up and to fight back. Look, we have, in this state alone, we have 5 metrodomes of unemployed. We have many more people who are underemployed. Real wages have sunk back to 1997 levels. I mean, if we're going to improve this economy, and if there's going to be a future for our young folks, our own kids, then we've got to create an economy that's open to everyone, where everyone has an opportunity for a job, for health care, and for retirement with dignity. And that's what this is about. And I think that's resonating with people across this state and across the country. Heck, we have veterans coming home, and their unemployment rate amongst veterans is 16%. That's just not just. Folks tried to protect this country, and now they're coming back to no jobs. That's simply wrong. And I think we just have to keep reaching out and with our message. And that message resonates in North Minneapolis, it resonates in rural Minnesota, and it's that we need jobs. We need to have jobs, we need to have fair wages, we need to have health care, and we need to have a dignified retirement. Those kind of messages are going to resonate in every community in this country, and I think the reason this movement is growing is because that is resonating in every movement in this country. And so I think there has to be a continued reach out. Obviously, there's been a reach out to the trade unions, and we're here. And I think there's got to be a reach out to communities of color. There's got to be a reach out to minority communities. There's got to be a reach out to rural communities. There's got to be a reach out to resource-based communities like the Iron Range. These are all folks who have suffered under this great recession and have suffered because the richest folks in this country continue to make huge profits while the rest of us don't have enough to put food on our table. That's got to change.